Intrigue Media. Get noticed, get found.
So as I was just saying to Melanie, today I'm presenting on video advertising, and it's Video Advertising 101. So a very standard outline of our video advertising, and I'm briefly touch on our networks, the value that both the community, our clients, and the host locations get out of having our video advertising, and then just some other very basic level things where in the sales process when I'm going to talk to people about video advertising that we cover, as well as what makes a good video and some of the examples of videos that we've created in the past, mostly more recently as they're getting better and better every day. So before I dive into it, I'm going to have this presentation, and if at the end of it you have any questions or there's any other points that you'd like me to cover, definitely ask me, ask away, because even if it's not in the presentation, I'm sure I can address it afterwards, as it's something that I'm very familiar with, and I know not everyone gets to dive into it every single day or even at all in their daily roles. Cool. So just to start out, especially for some of the newer people here, if you're not familiar with our video advertising network, we place TVs in high traffic areas where people either shopping or waiting in line for things or waiting at a restaurant or even eating at a restaurant would see these TVs, and people have the opportunity to advertise on them, or if it's a non-for-profit organization, they can place their ads for events, for example, or seeking volunteers and things like that. So this is a map from our website of some of the TV locations. It's pretty up to date, I would say, so it gives you a really good sense of just how many TVs we have around. So that's pretty exciting. So what the public sees, so as in what the community would see when they're out and about. Basically, it's very entertaining. So if you're waiting to be sat at a restaurant, or you're at a Service Ontario and you're spending 40 minutes just trying to get your driver's license renewed, it's something to look at and it's something to watch rather than just staring at a wall. So we add a lot of value to the community in that way, as well as having fun trivia, which public feedback says is very important, and people get super into it. So that's pretty cool, as well as community events. So it keeps you very up to date and aware on what's going on in the community. For example, right now we have ads running for the Special Olympics that are coming up into Guelph. So some people, if they don't actively seek their local news, this can be a way to keep them informed of what's coming to the city of Guelph. And because we don't just have TVs in Guelph, this is the same in many of our other communities, like Brantford, for example. And then local businesses. Obviously, there's a reason that we have these TVs, and to give local businesses a voice and a form of getting out in the community. It helps, I'll touch on how it helps them afterwards, but the public can see more local businesses that can afford to advertise on our network, as opposed to just watching CTV, for example, and only seeing businesses that are common and more well known to us on a daily basis. So for our clients that choose to advertise on the network, what they see is it's an innovative form of advertising. So rather than the traditional print or radio, we offer an alternative form of that. And a lot of our clients choose to continue in print or radio at the same time, but this offers something new and something innovative. And that was kind of the premise of why the Video Advertising Network was created with Intrigue to begin with. It grabs your attention because typically you're waiting or you're looking in areas where you have nothing else to do. So it's very captivating in my experience and the feedback that we've been given. Right place at the right time. So typically you're in an open mindset, or you're not preoccupied doing something else like you would be perhaps when you just get home and you see print. Like if it was like a flyer that was sent in your mail, I find you're you're just already, you just got home, you brought in your mail, you're looking at your bills, you're looking at other information that you have. It doesn't really get you at the right time, as opposed to this where you have nothing to do but be captivated by it. And
I
then
just throw my dad's right in the garbage. Like, I don't even look at them.
exactly.
So so many of them, if there's ever a good one, I'm missing it because the rest of them are crap.
Exactly, and if you just keep doing that, then it kind of becomes habit where you can't throw our TVs in the garbage, so you're looking at them regardless. And then moving on to the most important point being, people who spend time at the hair salon or at gyms or are going to restaurants or even doctor's offices, typically they're out there and they're spending money while they're out in the public. So it's not everyone's lifestyle to go out and enjoy some of the things that their community has to offer when it comes to businesses, but typically those who are out where our TVs are out in the community spending money. So odds are, they're your type of consumer when it comes to spending money on your business. So obviously we need places to put these TVs, which is pretty standard. I'll dive a little into the details of what the agreement looks like later on, but why would someone want to host one of our TVs? Well, from just to give you an example, if it's let's say like a breakfast spot, that commonly, especially on like Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning, they're super busy and there's always a wait. As a customer walking in there, like you're not annoyed because you realize there's going to be a wait, but it's still it kind of sits poorly with you. The benefit of having something like this is that it does decrease perceived wait times because people get pretty caught up in what our TVs have to offer, especially when it comes to trivia and seeing some of the other like local news and Twitter feeds that are happening on our TVs. Then they get a little caught up into it, and it helps decrease what they perceive to be their wait time at the restaurant. So that's pretty cool. When I say showcasing opportunity, because we're putting these TVs into different locations, we allow the host to have 6 15-second slots on the TV. So that's part of the agreement, and we'll produce 6 videos for them. So that's a pretty good opportunity for them to showcase some of the events or products that they have to offer. So just to give you a good example of where this can be super valuable for our hosts, Kelsey's just over on Woodlawn. We have a TV in there, and so they were given 6 of these slots, and we thought it was best to showcase some of their higher margin items, because if those sell more, they're making more. It's a bigger benefit, right? So they chose one of their Cobb salads to sell because it was one of their highest margin items. And they actually sold so many by having this ad displayed on their TV in-house that they had head office calling them, asking them what the heck they were doing in order to sell so many Cobb salads, because it was just through the roof. So it's just a really good example of how valuable these TV slots in the 6 videos can be to our hosts. And then again, building more of a sense of community, especially I have heard feedback from franchise restaurants that sometimes in such a localized community, for example, like Guelph, franchise models feel that they're not being perceived as a local place to go and eat, and people don't view them as that. They view them as another like Fortune 500 company, where in reality it is a local business owner who owns a franchise model of a business. So I find having these TVs visible and showcasing different, whether it be non-for-profit organizations or local events that are happening or other local businesses outside of restaurants, it's really building a sense of community. So when you walk in, you perceive that the business is much more involved in the community. So what is the value in our network? So I think a lot of people, when it comes to marketing, they're tending to go away from, like there's a dollar value return in all the marketing that you do, but often there's a sense of value of, what is this really getting me in the long term? People who work with us and our A clients really know that marketing is a marathon, it's not a sprint. They're not looking for customers in the door right away. They're looking for community visibility and to build brand awareness and to get out in the community so that people do know who they are. So I believe our network does a really great job of increasing your community awareness, especially if you're going to the same restaurant all the time and you're seeing the same ad. That brand is really starting to stick with you and what they do. High definition videos. I'll showcase some examples of different videos that we've produced, but they are on high def TVs, and Nicole and James both do an incredible job of producing these videos and really showcasing our businesses and what they have to offer. They play a minimum of every 22 minutes. So there's some exceptions, for example, if they're not our TVs and we're placing on, but for the most part, they play a minimum of every 22 minutes. So that were to be if the network was completely full, which usually it's running just a little bit below. So people get their ad played more than every 22 minutes. And the average ad is 20 seconds in length. And some people choose to create 25 or 30-second videos, but those are kind of the exceptions and the one-offs. When I say sustainable form of media, obviously my biggest point of reference would be like the Guelph Mercury closing more recently and the decline of print and things like that. So I really think having a digital presence like this is much more sustainable, not just from an environmental standpoint, but just from a standpoint of how people are consuming their news and their media. And we already touched on a little bit with the flyers. So, and then it's also a very affordable alternative for local businesses. So I don't want to dive too much into it because that's not really part of our selling process. But the whole reason this network was created was to have another form of advertising for local businesses that didn't cost them an arm and a leg. If you saw the cost of running the average radio campaign, you would quickly understand the difference. And even with print, for the average slot, let's say if it was about half a page in what was the Guelph Mercury, that would be about a month's worth of video advertising on about 5 of our TVs, just to give you a good reference. So one-time print going to 2,000 houses and just one day compared to, let's say, like 5 TVs over an entire month. That's kind of the value comparison when it comes to dollar value. So in order to, I guess it's kind of from a selling standpoint, but it's also to hone in on certain demographics of some of our locations. We've split our networks, or we've split our locations into group networks. Sometimes this applies for certain clients and for others, not so much. But just to give you an example, the Medical Wellness Network, that's in a lot of like doctor's office locations, like waiting areas, and like physiotherapists and like physical rehabilitation places like that. So the main demographic for that, if you walk into the average doctor's offices, it's typically an older crowd. So typically if a business was looking to market towards seniors, that would be our recommendation. So a good example of that would be if you had like a right-at-home service where they came to you and let's say they took care of some of your housework throughout the week and they wanted to advertise on our network, that'd probably be a pretty big network that we would recommend in that situation. PHSN is a partnership with other doctor's offices because we're not the only company to do this. So that's a little like nitty gritty, but just to give you a good sense that, we own the majority of the TVs, but we don't own them all. And some of them we do have a open partnership with. Professional Family Network, those are in a lot of restaurants, certain, for example, like gyms and like places that professionals would go, as well as people perhaps with like a younger family. So typically the majority of that network is composed of restaurants, and a lot of people love those. It's just other restaurants can't advertise in other restaurants, which seems pretty standard, and I'm sure everyone can understand that. Service Ontario, so in some Service Ontario locations, we have TVs, which is amazing because if anybody's been to Service Ontario at any point in their entire life, they understand the value behind that. So that's kind of one-off, and we keep it separate just because there is higher demand for that network. So we keep it by itself, and it's costs just a little bit more. And then Women's Network is in a lot of salons and like spas and places that would mostly be composed of women. The benefit of that network for some people is if the woman of the house, let's say, is, whether it's for a beauty product or for another studio where they could go for other beauty purposes, or if it was for like a children's daycare and they were the decision maker in that, a lot of businesses would see value in that. So when I was going over this, I was talking with a lot of team members, and I was trying to come up with a reason why, other people have done these video advertising networks and not anybody's really succeeded to the point that we have, not in our province anyhow. And I was trying to really think, what makes our network so great and what makes it so much better? And I think the way we've rolled it out and the way it's developed and grown and progressed over the years is definitely a big reason. But to date, I can definitely say the variety of content that we have on our TVs, if you compare it to some other forms that you've seen, I find we have a good blend because we have like the trivia and the community events that are going on and the non-for-profit organizations and the businesses. The variety really helps people because you're not just being blinded by, ad after ad after ad that's all around the same ideas. The quality of the content, so what we're putting out there when it comes to these videos, they keep getting better and better every day, and I'll show you a couple examples. But it makes a big difference if you compare it to some of the other networks and what they're putting up on theirs. And then the relevant content. So again, when we were talking about this back here and how there's all these different networks, we're not making recommendations for businesses to go on networks that aren't targeting their main demographic. It just wouldn't make sense. So because we do this, it makes it so relevant when people are in shopping or at a hair salon, that the content on there is businesses or events that they would actually care about, as opposed to being a one-off or something. So what makes a good video? Like, why do I think Nicole's videos are so awesome? Well, we do try, I know personally when I am producing a video for someone, I really try and showcase like why they're in business. So I think a good example of this would be, most recently I'm talking to a cat clinic. So she specifically only deals with cats. And when we're talking about producing a video, she's like, I just don't know what I want my video to be. And I'm like, well, it would make sense to really showcase to people like why you have a cat-only clinic. It's not like she has a cat-only degree. Like she went to school to be a vet. She's a fully certified vet, and she chose to focus on cats. So why is that? Because that's something that other cat owners will resonate with. Promote a message. So again, for some of our events, you need to get a message out there or a common thread. So that's why we would have a video, and that would be the theme of the video. And then it is very important to focus on having a call to action. So if you're going to have a video that showcases your why, that's fantastic. But if you want it to generate business, or you want people to come and buy from you, or at least inquire with you, it's really important to have a call to action. So whether it be a phone number for them to call, an address for them to go to, or a website for them to visit in order to take next steps moving forward, they would really need that. So this is an example of one that Nicole created most recently. That is very, it showcases like a call to action and a little bit about like why they're in business. And then it promotes some of the more like typical things of why people would go and shop with them. So then that would be a call to action. The fact that there is an address for them to go to or a phone number for them to call. Does that make sense? So another version of a campaign would be a tip of the month campaign. So sometimes we will do this. Sometimes we'll do this in order to showcase a little bit of expertise. Oops, whatever. So that really showcases, that it's a little bit of knowledge that you're extending to the public, because prior to me watching that, I had no idea that they used hair to clean up oil spills. That was all new to me. That's a bit of an older video, so I couldn't quite find one that was more relevant, but it really showcases that they're experts in what they do and they care about the environment, and builds a little bit of a brand reputation for them amongst the community. And then the next one, or example of a video that we've done for some of our clients, is a text in to win campaign. So they'll text in a certain number, and then they can have the opportunity to win something. These are really great because then we can see how many people are actually watching our videos and get information and feedback based on that. So an example of this one. And just to be clear, some of these videos have audio attached with them because they're going to be showcased elsewhere, would be my best guess. But typically, all of our TVs don't have sound because that wouldn't make sense. A lot of people wouldn't hear them. So those are just one-off instances. And then this is an example of a contest that we've made a video for. So this would go up on our network, and it would encourage people to go elsewhere in order to enter this contest. So from here, they would go to Facebook in order to enter this photo contest. But this would go up on our network. So some of the technical nitty-gritty is like, how do we do this? Like, how do we put the videos out there? This is like a little bit more in detail, but it's, I think, another component as to why we've been so successful is that we've created our own software in order to be able to do all this awesome stuff. Not when it comes to producing the videos, but to put them up there. So it's called CDS, and it's a little bit more in depth, and it's something that I honestly don't even know that much about, but that's something for a 201 session for sure. So does anybody have any questions?
Intrigue Media. Get noticed, get found.